take a step back before I really talk about models and talk a little bit about what a test strategy is, because I think sometimes there are misunderstandings about that. A test strategy is not a plan. It's not even a document. It's a design, which is really a mental construct, but it's the design behind your plan. Sometimes it's, in fact, the architecture, although I know that the A word is something of a dirty word in Agile circles. But it's really about the big picture ideas and the decisions that you've made that embody the overarching design. So it's the big design of a test or in fact, a test campaign if it's a large project. But I should be really clear here that you can have a test strategy for anything of any size, and in fact you should. You should always have a strategic idea of how you're going to test something, whether that's something as simple as a single story or a component or a feature, or whether it's something as complex as an enterprise system integration test. A test strategy is your solution to a testing problem. And really, the problem that you have and the task that you have as a tester or as a test manager is how are you going to uncover the most important information about the system. And of course, there are various attributes to how you need to uncover that. You need to uncover it efficiently and effectively, and you need to operate within whatever constraints you have, and so on. But fundamentally, it's about how. How are you going to uncover the information that's really important? And, what is important information? Well, it's information that matters to your stakeholders. And that is information that tells them something really significant about the value of that system, whether that's confirmation of the documented requirements, and most stakeholders want that. They want to know that this system is delivering what they expected it to deliver. But also, it's telling them about anything that might get in the way of their receiving that value. And typically, that's bugs of one kind or another, whether those are bugs at a meta level, like at a design level, or whether they're bugs right in the code. Okay, so, and I like to orient that around a definition of quality, whatever software quality means to you. To me, it's this definition, which is Jerry Weinberg's, that quality is value to some person or persons. So to each person who has a relationship with that system, software quality is about the value that they receive from that system. So the information that we're providing them with is information about that value. Okay. And typically, that has to do with what are the business drivers for this project? Why are we doing this in the first place? What are the benefits that the stakeholders expect this project to deliver to them with this system or in this system? So the core of any test strategy, again, if it's big or if it's small, is the model. What is the model that you are using to test this system and to structure how you think about testing this system? My opinion is that even if your test is driven entirely by user stories, the core of your strategy is still the model, because your model there is a user story model, or BTT statements, or use cases, or requirements stated in any form whatsoever. You're still using a model. It may be a requirements model. It may be a model or a user story model. But whether you're conscious of that or not, you're using a model. The goal is a representation of something. It's a simplified and reduced representation. I mean, in this photograph that the cat very conveniently posed, where the cat posed next to the wooden statue. I mean, the sculpture is a cat. It's a cat, similarly colored to the cat, to the real cat. But it's clearly not a cat. It's a simplified and reduced representation of a cat. Here's another way of thinking about a model. Again, quoting Jerry Weinberg, it's an expression of a thing that we hope to understand, but that we have translated in terms of a thing that we do understand. So again, simplified and reduced. So we can get our hands around it, we can represent it, but we mean for it to express what it is that we're testing. And from a testing point of view, that's typically then simplified and reduced representation of whatever it is that we're testing, whether it's a feature or a system, component, or a set of business processes, or in fact, an individual business process that we're testing. Choose a model, consciously or unconsciously. It gives form to those strategic choices. It gives them something concrete that we can then work with, whether that's a sunny day model, confirming those requirements, or whether in fact it's a let's protect you from the storm model, where we're looking more actively for bugs and things that are going to get in the way of you receiving that value. My contention is that we need to model consciously. It's great that we have things that we use as models routinely and unconsciously, but in fact it's important to me to say, no, this is the model that I'm going to use. Test causes us to make choices, we know that. We can't test everything, so we make choices. Are we going to include this and leave this out? Are we going to put more emphasis over here and less emphasis over here? What is it that we're actually basing the test on? And how are we going to do that test? And when we consciously model, consciously say, this is the model that we're going to apply, it gives us a way to explain those choices to our stakeholders and to ourselves, but it also gives us a way to control them and to examine them. When we construct a model, we want that model to be useful. And a really useful test model is something that simulates, in a reduced and simplified form, something real about a system, or about how that system is going to be used. It's useful because it stimulates interesting test ideas. It causes us to think in all kinds of ways about what can we do within the construct of that model to test this system and uncover important information. It's also really helpful when it's easy for other people to understand, so they can give us feedback, so they can tell us what we might be missing, so they can gain some confidence that we know what we're doing when we're testing their system. And finally, and this is something I'll come back to a little bit later, it's useful often if it departs from the model that the program is used to create the system. So we're thinking about the system from a different point of view, from the point of view that was used when it was created. Here's a model. It looks stated. It's actually very simple. It's a model that I created a long time ago. I think there's even a date on it, something like 1999. And I was testing a point of, it wasn't a point of sale system, it was a loyalty system, the implementation of a new loyalty system for a Canada-wide chain of stores. And the loyalty system, as happens in any retail organization, you implement a new system, and it has to be integrated with all of your other systems. I got there, I was expected to do this test. There were no diagrams whatsoever about the context of this system, or how the new system, actually several new systems, were going to fit into the enterprise, and how therefore I would have to test it. So one of the first things I did was start creating a diagram of the integration. And it's a simplified and reduced diagram. It doesn't tell you all of the data that's going through, and where a given system gets its data, what it does to it, and who it sends it to. But it tells you enough that you can understand how the whole thing fits together. So once I got that picture, then the simple part came along. How am I going to test this? Well, with a set of highlighters, and I said there are flows. There are flows here that we need to test. The blue flow is setup, fundamentally.